What's up, everybody? Who's out there? Oh my goodness, filling up quick. How are y'all doing up there tonight? I will not keep you long, I promise. All right, we're not going to do a big monster epic marathon. We're just going to cover this. There are some things I did want to talk about pertaining to this situation, so that's what we're going to get into. All right, Whiplash, what's up? Whistler, what's up? Just teasing, what's up? Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me? Why am I frozen? All right. What is going on out there? Krusty, what's up? Thor at the door, what's up? Lilu, what is up? Glenn. Glenn, I was just thinking about you. I haven't seen you in a while. What's up, brother? Sarah, what's up? Aphrodite in the house. Rock on. Glad to see you. All right. All right, here we go. Let's turn that off and see how we're doing here. All right. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I've been having wicked sinus issues. I hope my voice doesn't crap out. I did a documentary, an interview for a documentary earlier, and I was having some voice fails. Unfortunately, some voice fails. What's up, Go 11? What's up, Dunt? What's up, Scarby? Sarah, what's up? Did I already say what's up, Sarah? How you doing tonight? This is a sad story. I'm going to be honest with you. I watched some of his videos, and he did not seem like a very well man to me. I'm sorry to say. I am sorry to say. What's up, Janet? All right. Yeah, I saw that the moon pyramids. That's crazy. Bad news. Bad news. Algaes, yeah. Tree pollen's out of control here. Absolutely out of control. But I loaded up on guaiachinese and some Claritin, so hopefully I'll be all right. Hopefully I will be all right. I still can't get this my Yeti microphone to work with the system. I'm gonna have to upgrade the system, but I really don't want to have to do that. I just got this computer. Oh God, yeah. So this brings me kind of back, though. I mean, David Wilcock. Gosh, when did I first know about this guy? It was definitely before he started doing Ancient Aliens. I'm having a senior moment. It's just the 2000s are just like a lost time for me. It's like I remember the 90s better than I remember the 2000s. All right, very good. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, sir. A BAL quasar, or is that a Baal quasar? Baal, maybe? Baal? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness gracious. We're going to get started fairly soon. Just wait for people to pop in. Michael Tessarian. What's up with Michael Tessarian? Oh, I got to start recording too. Bronwyn, oh, I'm so glad to see you. Welcome to the show. Very glad to see you. Very glad to see you tonight. All right. All righty. Am I sounding a little hot? Coming in a little hot? Getting a little bit into the yellow. I can never tell because I got to upgrade the software or get something else because I'm not happy with the sound quality. The odds were fairly well, not for me. Not for me. My daughter was born in 9/11 and all sorts of adventures. I had a lot of things going on in the 2000s. Maybe that's why I don't remember them as well. A lot of things going on. What's up, Aquila? All right, Coffee Commando. MWBD. Kelly, what's up? My third eye, what's up? Yeah, I am running a little hot here. Oh my goodness, little hot. Little hot. All right. Magic Star, what's up? What is going on? I'm going to sit back maybe a little bit, maybe, ooh. All right. Everybody ready? Everybody settled? Oh, 9:05. Gosh, gotta wait. Well, maybe I'll try and counteract the OCD nonsense. Let's see what we got going on here. Oh my goodness. What a crowd here tonight, folks. What a crowd. How did you forget about 9/11? I don't know. Well, Gods with Spandex was published in 2007. That's when I started The Secret Sun in earnest. I'd actually started it I created the account in 2004. Didn't really start blogging. Oh, glad to see you, W. Foster. Glad to see you here tonight. All right. Start recording. Coast to Coast. Sometime in the early 2000s. That sounds about right. That does sound about right. There are all these podcasts back in the early 2000s that I listened to, these conspiracy podcasts. That was back in the day when they're all hosted on their websites. It's the glory days of the web, which I really miss, to be honest with you. Your oldest was born 2 months after my youngest. So that's very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Very interesting. Oh my goodness. What are we going? All right. I'm going to get started very, very shortly. 1999-ish. Does anybody remember those old podcasts and those old when people would host video and podcasts on their own sites before YouTube and before Spreaker and all these Stitcher and all these other hosting services? Certainly before Spotify and all the rest of it. Oh, gave in to doing mediumship instead of running from it. That must have been a major turning point in your life. All right, so David, this is very sad. This is very unfortunate. As we're going to see, the man had his demons and was having a very rough go of it. We'll get into the details here, but I will tell you, and we'll get into the details in this as well. I remember when he hooked up with that Corey Goode guy, I was like, oh, why are you doing this? Why? This is not good. That was a poor decision on his part, unfortunately. Corey Goode really destroyed his career and his reputation and his credibility, quite frankly. First Gen Xer that was doing these shows. Probably true. Definitely among the first. I remember peering into, and of course, Visigoth, whose show I did until he decided that I was evil for some reason. Oh, coast to coast. I wasn't a big coast to coast listener, to be honest with you. One of the reasons being is that I couldn't get AM. For some reason, the area that I'm in, you can't get AM stations at night at all. Not in my car, not on the stereo, nothing. Corey Goode and his Blue Space Chickens. Yeah, that guy is bad news. Bad news, my friends. 18.6 years later, we are now in another major lunar standstill. No, I was never a big George Norrie guy either. Art Bell he just had something going on. He had a vibe. Quasar. Boötes, midpoint in the constellation Boötes. We had a cat named Boötes, a beautiful black cat. Now we have a beautiful black cat named Blueberries. Of course, some of you might be familiar with that friend. All right, let's get this party started. All right, 9:10. As you know, let's get into the details. Let's get into the biographical details on Mr. David Wilcock. David Wilcock was an American author, filmmaker, and YouTuber, best known for his work in the disclosure and New Age communities. He graduated from SUNY New Paltz in 1995 with a degree in psychology. Divine Cosmos was his official platform for work in fields of ancient civilizations, consciousness science, and ufology. David Wilcock built a large following through his theories on ascension, a mass evolutionary event for humanity, and his claim of being the reincarnation of the sleeping prophet Edgar Cayce, citing physical and astrological similarities. I never saw those myself, but whatever. People will judge me for my strange beliefs as well. Anyway, Divine Cosmos serves as a hub for his articles, books, and scientific treatises on New Age metaphysics, such as the Convergence series. David Wilcock was a longtime regular on Ancient Aliens and hosted the series Wisdom Teachings and Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia before his acrimonious departure in 2018. And we'll get into that as well, all right? So, these are a few of his books: The Synchronicity Key, The Ascension Mysteries, and Awakening in the Dream, Contact with the Divine. And of course, he talked about extraterrestrials quite a bit, the Venusians, tall whites, Tagatians, Nibirians, Anunnaki, Era, precursors, Clarions, Nordics. Yeah, I don't much go for that kind of thing, but that's just the way I roll, I know a lot of people do, and I'm not here to judge anybody, all right? Now, this is some of the information as to his death, all right? According to officials, Boulder County Communications received a 911 call at approximately 10:44 a.m. reporting an unknown problem. The emergency communications specialist who handled the call believed the caller may have been experiencing a mental health crisis, prompting a swift response from law enforcement. Deputies arrived at the scene around 11:02 a.m., made contact with the man outside a residence. Within minutes of their arrival, the situation escalated, and the individual died at the scene. Authorities have not released further identifying details, blah, 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 blah. Following the incident, deputies conducted a thorough search of the residence and surrounding property. Officials confirmed that no other individuals were located and stated there is no ongoing threat to the public. Okay? Now, the story goes is that he had called the cops, and when they showed up, he shot himself on his front porch, apparently. All right, so slide's not showing. Slide's not showing. Why aren't the slides showing? Okay. Give me just 1 second here. Why aren't the slides showing? Oh, good Lord. It's always something here. Give me just 1 second. How's that? Yeah, it was stuck on the title slide. This program, I'm telling you, I've reached my end of patience with it. So just these are the books, okay? Oh my goodness! And this is the text, okay, that I read from. And I apologize for that. This program is not very efficient. All right. I apologize for that. Anyway, as some of you know, recently Nick Pope died, who was another Ancient Aliens regular. Okay. Died of cancer. Very sad story. Nick Pope was the real life Fox Mulder, as he liked to present himself, even though there's some controversy about that. Worked for the British MOD. MOD. Okay. So UFO expert Nick Pope dies at 60 after cancer battle. UFO investigator and longtime Ancient Aliens contributor. Stage 4 esophageal cancer. He had posted on social media that he was on the way out. It's very sad. I feel very, I wonder if he was a smoker, all right? Often dubbed the real life Fox Mulder, okay? 2 decades in the Defense Service, all right? Jay Widener had written, in a weird twist of fate, David Wilcock's biographer, Win Free, died on the 18th of April, 2 days before David. So we have 3 deaths in a very short period of time. We have Nick Pope, David Wilcock's co-writer here, Win Free, and then David himself. Very, very strange. All right. All right. Let's get into this then. So this is Win Free, had co-written. This is, you know, again, I'm not here to judge, but it's kind of a bit strange to write a book about yourself being the reincarnation of Edgar Casey, question mark, okay? That's a little bit a little bit narcissistic. And I do wonder if David had some ego issues. You don't listen, you don't want to get into all the kind of stuff that he got into if you have narcissistic, which is kind of a contradiction because most people seem to have those problems, but you really need to exercise your demons before you start poking around all these places. I know that it's exceedingly rare for people to do so, but how many people have we seen that just wash out or somehow get destroyed when they start poking around in these areas? All right. Now, somebody had posted this that David had died on the 16th anniversary of the first series episode of Ancient Aliens. There was a pilot episode previously, but the first proper episode was on April 20th, which is highly appropriate given the fact that so many people who watched Ancient Aliens were sparking one up, right? Doing some major bong hits and such. Big, big, big show with the pot smoking crowd. And I've got to clear my throat again. So that is a very interesting coincidence, right? Now, a lot of people have mentioned this. Also on 420, which was also Hitler's birthday, we had this gunman, this Mexican whose name was Julio Cesar Jasso. So Julius Caesar opening fire on Canadian tourists at Teotihuacan, okay, at the pyramid. And somebody said this was the first time in 1,000 years that the pyramid was used for what it was intended for, okay, which is a rather grim statement to make because, of course, these pyramids were used for human sacrifice, a rather gruesome human sacrifice, okay? And that is what we saw. quite openly. I haven't read this guy's. They always have manifestos. I've not read the manifesto, but there we go. All right. Now, just yesterday, this is a very personal issue for me, my friends. Janet knows about this. It turns out that what I had said back in 2017, that the whole Unite the Right Charlottesville situation was all a false flag setup. As it happens, at least as far as the grand jury is concerned, that is the case. We have the Southern Poverty Law Center paying large sums of money to these ridiculous far-right and Nazi groups and all the rest of it. Obviously, a case of the arsonist fireman, okay? The fireman who sets fires that he needs to put out, okay? As we see National Alliance, Aryan Nations, Unite the Right, KKK, and all the rest of it. This is going to be a very big story, okay? And I do suspect that it isn't just these groups that are on the payroll of the SPLC. So this is a major story that is going to have extreme ramifications, okay? This is not just going to go away, but that was yesterday, the day after David's death, but also the day that it was announced. So we see here the AI slop is already in full earnest. And of course, the hallucinations, getting his birthday wrong and his date of his death wrong, okay? All these heroic images here. This image on the top left is based on his publicity photo, okay? We are not alone. We never were. Thank you, David. Your light will never fade. Rest in peace, okay? So we have all this instant AI slop. I mean, it's going to get to the point that people are only going to want to see like crayons on, grocery sacks, because people are going to get so tired of AI slop, all right? And this, again, is David Wilcock dead? The conspiracy theories circulating, all right? Here they say it was unverified, but it has since been verified, okay? Boulder County, Colorado, okay? Nederland, Colorado, to be precise. And you've probably seen this all over social media, people speculating. And I'm not going to make any comment one way or the other. I haven't investigated the story. And I always say that you never know the truth about these situations until much later, until you can actually do the real work. But as you would imagine, as you always see, the conspiracy theories have popped up. Nothing to see here, folks. I mean, I have read a lot of this material, and I have to be perfectly blunt here. I don't follow the reasoning, okay? I don't follow the reasoning. But as we'll see, as we'll get into, I mean, he had a lot of problems. He had a lot of problems that we'll look over. Now, this had said that he had an old post had resurfaced. I plan on living not suicidal at all. Well, accent on the old post, okay? People change their mind, but also people can do rash and impulsive things that they would later come to regret, or in this case, not. I mean, again, I'm not going to get into the weeds on this because it's pointless. We don't have enough information to go off yet. And I do find it to be a bit irresponsible to speculate on these things until the information is in, all right? This fellow here says, whatever you think of David Wilcock, I find it odd that he'd take his own life before the government was about to confirm the existence of the things he spent his life trying to expose. That is debatable. Okay, highly debatable. And this person here, or this account here, we'll get into hidden in plain sight. I've been informed that David Wilcock has taken his own life. That is not the ending any of us wanted. This account is of a YouTube channel that has had ongoing battles with David. There were a couple of these that we'll look at. Now, this image here is a recent screen cap from one of his live streams. And to be frank, I don't think he looks particularly well here. He does not look like the picture of wellness. He looks very stressed, and a kind of stress that cannot be faked or acted, all right? This account says in David Wilcock's podcast 2 days ago, he said he was grateful for being alive and acknowledged how many researchers are being killed or suicided. We're going to get into that, all right? We're going to get into that because that is by no means a recent phenomenon, all right? This is another screen cap. This is from his final live stream. And he did not, he seemed very labile, all right? Very emotionally volatile. And you can watch these live streams for yourself, all right? These are some of the last tweets that he had posted. What if the pain we're all going through is a divinely ordained process overseen by benevolent ETs? Mass meditation can create huge problems, so let's get together and make it happen. The Book of Enoch has dazzling prophecies for our time. So I see this, what if the pain we're all going through, as you will see if you look through the record, is that he did seem to be in a state of crisis, all right, for one reason or the other. Dear family, I slept miraculously well last night and decided to go live today. Why in the world did POTUS post that Christ-like picture as he lost his mind? Are we going to be okay as the Antichrist? How does this affect the war and disclosure? Okay. So I believe this is his final tweet. All right. The day before he was reported to have killed himself. All right. This is from the 4th. Join me tomorrow for the Festival of Ascension. Disclosure was hot this week with 3 different officials making provocative statements. Please do not get caught up in the disclosure situation. All right. We're going to get into the weeds on that a bit. I do not trust it there, but there is something big coming. All right. There's something coming, my friends. There's something very big in the works that we need to prepare for as best we can. But something is going on. All right. Now, this is 3 days before his death. This is that account I mentioned before. David Wilcock is a sad and depressed rock star. We indulge in one of David's songs and are treated to a delightful vocal performance. Also, David may be back to partake in the devil's lettuce, a good sign for things to come. So this account was goading him and mocking him. As we see here, we see this sort of Gene Simmons sans makeup image here with the pigs. This is kind of cruel, to be honest with you, particularly since I think it's obvious to any reasonable person that Mr. Wilcock was in a state of emotional crisis for quite some time, all right? This is another account which he had a running battle with, Red Panda Koala. This is another UFO disclosure account. This is quoting a video that Mr. Wilcock made attacking Red Panda Koala and saying that it was, the whole thing with the panda from Pizzagate and so on could be a bloodied abuse victim. Maybe a bit of a stretch there, but you know how these battles go. And this is why I stay out of all this stuff. I do not have any interest in engaging in these pissing matches with people. It's so pointless. And in cases like this, I mean, we see that Mr. Wilcock was having a genuine existential crisis. All right. So let's talk about falling on hard times. I mean, he was not doing well. And this is objective information here. This is objective fact. He was having a very hard time in his life. All right. And we'll see the details of this. And again, I don't know Corey Goode. I've never met him. I have nothing personal against the guy, but I believe that all the information that he was putting out there was absolute nonsense. And the fact that David Wilcock had got caught up in this absolute fantasy delusion, I believe led to his death. All right. Now, this is another account, this whole UFO world, which I'm really on the outskirts of, to be honest with you. Everything seems suspicious, referring to his death. However, as I recall, David had stated he had struggled with undiagnosed depression and suicidal thoughts in his teens. He started using cannabis with his mother's approval to cope with his mental health. Maybe something fishy is going on, or maybe his unchecked mental health eventually took over, which seems to be the case with me. And again, I'm not going to make any definitive statements. I could be wrong, but that's just how I see it. Living that life, researching what he did, that takes a toll on a person. Time will tell. Exactly like I said, people who have really serious mental health issues, emotional issues, really need to stay out of these these fields. It can really mess with your head. It can really mess with your head. And I've said the same thing about synchronicity as well. I mean, synchronicity is not a toy. It's not a game. I mean, it can really mess you up. I mean, synchronicity messed me up for a while, okay? You've got to be very careful, very, very careful. Now, this is Jordan Sather, who some of you might be familiar with. Big, I don't know if he still is, but he was a big Q guy at one point. Certainly not somebody who would be given to accept any official version of anything. But this is what he said. He said, I've been getting a lot of questions regarding David Wilcock's suicide, that if his death should be added to the list of the 11 dead missing scientists. Well, he wasn't a scientist, so it shouldn't. And Jordan says, I don't think so. Spending the time I did with David and seeing his slide over the years, I do not think his death was mysterious. He was genuinely battling demons he couldn't fight. And that is the same impression that I got from watching those videos, all right? This is a video. This is the hidden in plain sight, sort of mocking this video that Mr. Wilcock had made where he was talking to squirrels in his backyard and believing that he had trained them to respond to him. I'll just read this description here. Today we're back with our boy David Wilcock for some incredibly wild videos. Suffice it to say, old Davy boy is not doing better mentally. The things he does in these videos is both incredibly funny and slightly disconcerting. I would say very sad, to be honest with you. Nevertheless, we had a good time as David unravels before our eyes. So people who seem to know him best realize that he was not in good shape, which kind of angers me because how can you just watch somebody have these kind of difficulties if they're your friend or your associate and not try to help them? All right. I mean, this is endemic in our society. We've become so individualistic. We've become so uncaring. We've become so thoughtless. We become so selfish that when somebody like this is clearly falling apart in front of us and people just let it, okay? This is not a society I want to live in, all right? This is not the kind of world I want to live in where people are just allowed to self-destruct, to immolate, and nobody reaches out to help, all right? This is unacceptable, okay? Apparently he'd gotten fake teeth. And one thing I did notice is that in the videos that I was watching, he did seem to have not a lot of trouble, but there was clearly the teeth were uncomfortable, all right, particularly in the front. His speech was a little strange. I don't know if there's a video here about veneers and so on. I don't know exactly what he had done, but he did seem to be having some difficulty speaking with these teeth. Now, he had also divorced his wife, split up with his wife, Elizabeth Seraphine, one of these New Age guru S's, let's call them, the priestess path lineages of the Light Mystery School. That seems to be a big thing with these female New Age gurus, is the whole mystery school thing. Of course, and I've told you before, mystery school was a term invented by Madame Blavatsky. It has no actual historical reality to it. The mysteries were called mystery cults, not schools. They weren't schools. All right? You didn't go to like school. I mean, people say, well, what about the Pythagoreans? But were they really objectively a mystery cult? All right. So I have a beef with that term. But anyway, a rather attractive woman, but also very strange. But they had separated in 2021. Okay. Court records show David Wilcock filed for divorce from his first wife, Heather Shirky, in San Francisco on March 2nd, 2011. Judgment was entered July 7th, 2011, with marital status ending in September. He later married Elizabeth Seraphine on October 14th, 2017. In November 2021, both publicly announced the dissolution of their marriage. Elizabeth posted a blog entry titled Conscious Uncoupling, framing it as a harmonious transition after their paths diverged. Oh, good Lord, save me from New Age psychobabble, people. Just save me. Well, listen, it's not my life. I don't know these people, but that just grates. I'm sorry. Now, this is another account, people sort of needling Mr. Wilcock because he had relisted his house for sale, 1455 Ridge Road in Nederland, Colorado. Beautiful house, beautiful view. Real shame. Why did he list his house for sale? Here's hidden in plain sight again. Hey, David, are we going to get that 2019 990EZ form in 2022? Or did Beth take that in the divorce? We're discussing 2 IRS employees. Think of your available 990 documents today. Tick, tick, David. So he was having major tax problems, okay? Major problems with the IRS. IRS and county tax lien records indicate federal liens were placed on Wilcock's property in 2019 for unpaid taxes allegedly dating back to 2012. Multiple independent sources, including detailed podcast analysis citing official documents, report significant tax debt, with figures cited in the $1.4 to $3.3 million range. Wow, how does that happen? My God, how do you just neglect to pay that much taxes? I mean, oh my God. And a lien on his home. Wilcock publicly addressed his financial struggles, including references to bankruptcy and his choice to invest funds rather than pay the IRS, framing it in the context of his work. Okay, when you're making that kind of money, do not aggravate the IRS, my friends, okay? My IRS, do not mess around, okay? Pay your taxes, all right? Do not, especially if you're making that kind of bank that you would owe $3.3 million to the IRS. They don't play, folks. That is bad news. So this guy was in a world of hurt, my friends, all right? He was in a world of hurt. His wife left him. He was about to lose his home. He had all these tax liens on his property and his finances. He had completely shattered and destroyed his reputation with this Corey Goode thing that we'll get into. All right? This is his second to last, I believe his second to last tweet. Now, this sounds a bit dire to me. My dear family, I am not sure yet if I am doing a show tomorrow. I've had some very intense stuff going on this weekend. Either way, I want you all to know how much I love and appreciate you. Always remember that the Creator is within and we live in a loving universe. I am grateful to you for all of your love, care, and support. That sounds like a goodbye to me. All right. That says, to me at least, goodbye. This makes me sad. I find there are some people in this world when they really screw up and they really that they brought it upon themselves and they deserve it. I don't get the sense with this guy. I think this is a very troubled man who never got the care and help that he really needed. All right. And probably his level of success and celebrity, as happens so often, made everything worse. Okay. And the fact that we just live in this atomized, separated, individualized world where people don't look out for each other anymore. Where's his family? Where's his friends? This man is obviously suffering, obviously having tremendous difficulty, certainly financially, in his relationships and his career. Who's reaching out to this guy? Where are his friends? Where are his family? I can't stand this. Now, let's talk about Corey Goode, who I believe, well, it's not just me. A lot of people believe that this gentleman here was the source of Mr. Wilcock's undoing. Okay? Jay Widener. Okay? I produce 2 of David Wilcock's shows at Gaia. We worked together for over 4 years. I think Wisdom Teachings is still the best show ever at Gaia. We were like brothers. That is until he met Corey Goode. Corey's lies ripped David's hold on reality. Okay? Then he says, David Wilcock was a goofy dude who had some interesting ideas. People say he was a grifter, but outside of selling his books, he never tried to make money from what he was doing. However, all that changed after he met Corey Goode. Then a darkness fell over David. This is Cliff High. It's so predictable with these personalities. Corey Goode is using the suicide of David Wilcock, his primary victim, to unpimp his grift. No, David was not killed by the deep state. No, David was not taken out as part of the UFO guys who are gone and dead. Yes, David's death had everything to do with his association with a self-admitted liar and grifter and his fantasy of the secret shit space program, Corey James Goode. On June 5th of 2025, I made a phone call to David. He answered but was unresponsive to my asking that he should listen to my idea to save his image, identity, and as we now know, his life. Okay? In my opinion, David Wilcock is the victim of a manipulating personality with antagonistic drive using narcissistic extreme level techniques to control his victims. There were many victims of Corey beyond David. I do not count myself among those. Corey attacked me for saying publicly that I thought he was lying about his space adventures, which a dog could figure out. I mean, a 5-year-old child would not believe that nonsense. Okay? Which he admitted in court was exactly the case. Corey set his cult against me. I was assaulted and had to fight these stalking retards in public places. Corey Goode made himself my enemy by attacking me, so I fought him. David Wilcock was made a friend by Corey's manipulation and mind fuckery, so he suicided. Okay, so we have, a number of people who do not believe that David was taken out by the deep state. And to be honest with you, to be perfectly frank, I forgot all about him. When I read that he had died, I'm like, wait a minute, I totally forgot about that. Where did he go? This guy was ubiquitous for years, and then he just vanished. And now we know why. Too many sociopaths in this world, my friends. There's just too many of these people. There's just too goddamn many of them. Here's Mr. Goode making a video, maybe he's sincere. I don't know. This is a video about David's death. Who knows? I've never got a good feeling from this guy. I never believed a single word that he said. Okay, not one word did I believe. Corey Goode says, we are shocked and horrified. We will meet, who's we, with the Boulder Police to provide any information we can. Last time I spoke with David, he couldn't stop talking about the cyber stalkers and how they destroyed his life. And that might be a reference to the people whom David was feuding with on YouTube, okay? And again, this is why I fly under the radar, okay? I just gotta be honest with you. I keep a low profile for a reason, because the higher your profile you get, the more, these weasels come out of the woodwork and just start messing with your life, okay? It's just a sad fact of 21st century internet stardom, okay, that you've got to deal with losers coming out of the woodwork to take pot shots at you, okay? The more visibility you get, the more prominence you get, the more you have to deal with this nonsense, okay? And I have way too many rage issues, okay? I have way too many anger management issues to put up with that. Anyway, Corey Goode, former IT consultant, became a leading figure in UFO disclosure scene around 2015 as a self-proclaimed secret space program whistleblower. Oh, God save us from the whistleblowers, okay? Corey Goode claimed he was recruited as a child into the 20 and Back program, served in off-world military operations, and communicated with benevolent blue aliens from the Sphere Being Alliance. Is this like Mad Libs? The Sphere Being Alliance? I mean, like, I can't believe people bought this crap. I can't believe it. Others in the UFO community mocked the claims and called Goode's alien friends the blue chickens. Okay. Now, I'm an old school Project Camelot. That was one of the podcasts and videos that I was talking about from the 2000s. We were talking about this before I started the show here. And you always saw these whistleblowers, and it was always just like, oh, please stop, okay? The super soldiers coming out of the woodwork, right? Oh, my goodness. David Wilcock and Corey Goode, known for their work on cosmic disclosure, have been connected to legal and financial controversies involving Stavati Aerospace. Reports allege a spy thriller scenario involving espionage, with claims that Wilcock became a board member to procure investments. These events are part of ongoing legal battles and scrutiny regarding their business dealings, okay? Allegations of fraud. There are claims that David Wilcock attempted to defraud Colorado courts during a discovery process. Corey Goode and Wilcock are linked in allegations concerning a conspiracy to disrupt Gaia, their former network, while managing personal financial ventures. Who do you think was the driving force behind this? Who do you think was the troublemaker? Who do you think was the instigator? Okay? You tell me. You tell me. Now, I don't even know what year this is anymore. Oh, God. I mean, when did this all start? Cosmic Disclosure with Corey Goode and David Wilcock. Inner Earth. Now, I had watched one of these early presentations, And I was just stunned by the mediocrity of Corey Goode. I mean, he was not even a convincing storyteller. He has this kind of psychopathic, sociopathic deadening of affect, right? This flat affect. And his stories were just so weak. And there was just no conviction or energy behind them. The mediocrity of this man was just like, what was the appeal here? Okay. Well, I do know the appeal. I mean, sociopaths hone in on you, on a particular person. They'll hone on you personally and exploit you and figure out all your weaknesses, exploit them, and use them against you. Okay. That is my interpretation of this situation. All right. Here they are on the Jenny McCarthy show on Sirius XM. All right. So they got a lot of mileage out of this. All right. They really did. And again, it's absolutely bewildering to me. How did anybody pay any attention to this? Listen, I understand the appeal of a good story, right? A wild story. I understand the appeal. But when it's just a boring, stupid alternative 3 rehash, what is the point? What is the point? I never understood this. If you can tell me out there why anybody paid attention to this, please do. I just don't get it. All right. I don't get it. Now, our friend Daniel List was not happy about any of this. And he went hammer and tongs for many, many years against the blue chicken people, okay? Against Mr. Goode and Mr. Wilcock. And if you know Daniel Lists and the aka dark journalist, he's not a person who you want to get on the bad side of, all right? This is a man who knows how to carry out a vendetta. Believe me, this is not a guy I would ever dare get on the wrong side of, okay? This is a man who's tireless in pursuing revenge. We see here the New Age Deep State series, okay, and the Blue Chickens and all the rest of it. Corey's Kids Incorporated. Yeah, so he was not impressed by any of this. And if you know Dark Journalist, you've probably watched a lot of these discussions that he would have. He probably single-handedly brought down that whole racket, okay? Probably, if any one if Corey Goode did not defeat himself ultimately, it was Dark Journalist who took him down. And Corey Goode tried to return the favor by making his own videos against Mr. Dark Journalist, as we see here. All right. But he just didn't have the goods, man. It's like a classic case of bringing a knife to a gunfight. All right. Listen, I don't know Corey Goode from Adam. All right. I've never met him. I've never spoken to him. I had very little exposure to him because I just thought it was so absurd and mediocre. All right. But all I can say is that he was not fit to purpose to go on a war against Mr. List. All right. He didn't have the mojo to pull it off. You understand me? Oh, and this is something else. Pulling this stuff off the web. Corey Goode, psyop, disinfo, controlled opposition. I don't think he's controlled opposition, to be honest with you, to be frank. I don't think he's working for anybody but himself. I don't think anybody would recruit this guy. He's just too underwhelming. All right. He's just too mediocre. He's too unconvincing. There's no deep state involved here. All right. In my opinion, I could be wrong, but I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Oh, Dark Journalist. Most of the junk conspiracy we're seeing on the alternative side tracks back to David Wilcock and his marketeers. He's been pushing false predictions of 3 days of darkness. All these failed to come true. This is back from the COVID days, right? And there's the blue chickens again. Prediction fail. All right. So again, Mr. Journalist is he's got to be part Sicilian or something. I mean, this is a man who really understands how to conduct a long-running vendetta. All right. I mean, God bless. The House of Cards is falling. And I'm surprised the House of Cards was ever built. Again, it's bewildering to me. I mean, I am just completely lost at sea here. All right. I just don't get it. But, I'm just going to put on my amateur psychiatrist hat here and just say, because David Wilcock seems to be a person who was very deeply troubled and didn't seem to have a strong support network, it just made him very susceptible to the predations of a sociopath. All right. Now, that is just my amateur opinion, right? Strictly my opinion, but just my read on this, that David Wilcock seemed to be like a guy who, kind of wore his heart on his sleeve in some ways. I remember watching a video with him and he was playing his music, and it was painful to me because I could just see like his need for approval. He wanted people to appreciate his music and enjoy it, but he just felt so uncomfortable and so insecure. It really filled me with like a sense of compassion. I really felt sorry for him, And again, this is an individual I have no animus towards. All right, I have nothing. I never had anything against this guy. All right. So this is getting back to his issues with Gaia, the Gaia network. Tensions with Gaia escalated in 2018. Goode and Wilcock left the network. In 2020, Goode sued Gaia, alleging harassment, stalking, and conspiracy. Gaia countersued for defamation. Corey Goode admitted in his deposition that large portions of his narrative were dream and delusion and intellectual property. Trademark terms SSP, Secret Space Program, and 20 and back for fiction and merchandise. So he trademarked these terms he previously presented as real classified programs that could not be trademarked. All right. This triggered fraud accusations. UFO community discredited Goode, Wilcock, let me start again. This triggered fraud accusations. The UFO community discredited Corey Goode. David Wilcock publicly distanced himself, apologized to Gaia, and blamed it all on Goode. So, again, just a classic case of this is something that you hear a lot with celebrities, okay? Celebrities who become popular but have a lot of emotional and, frankly, mental issues are highly susceptible to people who will exploit their vulnerability and their sense of needing of belonging and for companionship and support. It's very, very upsetting. And, like these new age guru S's, they're all total narcissists who will give you absolutely no emotional support whatsoever. All right, just take my word for it. This is from the legal complaint. We see that he had named Gaia, Jay Widener. I mean, look at the list. Look at the list of parties to this lawsuit. Okay. I think Jerker Riksavi is the CEO of Gaia. this is where a lot of the money goes. I mean, maybe this is why David couldn't pay the IRS, because he blew it all on these absurd legal proceedings. All right. So that is just setting out that, again, I do not have a personal opinion because I haven't been party to any inside information on this whatsoever. But the people who knew David and the people who had worked with him do not believe that he was suicided by the deep state, that he had been driven to a very dark place through an association with a manipulator. Simple as that. But I did want to talk about the law of one. Okay. One is the loneliest number. One is the loneliest number. All right. Ra and the law of one. This is from David's wisdom teachings. So this guy had his own show on, well, two shows on Gaia. I mean, he had it made. Okay. He was on Ancient Aliens. He was doing the tours, and then, I mean, I don't want to say Yoko, right? But it just seems that we see this. You know what this does remind me of? It almost reminds me, if you've ever seen the film, what's the name of that film? Is it Autofocus, the one about Bob Crane with Greg Kinnear and William Dafoe? This situation kind of reminds me of that relationship, without, of course, the murder, but whatever. In ancient Egypt, a singular host was found suitable to bring forth a grand message of unity and compassion. Almost immediately, this message was twisted by the corrupt and used to build the secret societies of the power holders. In 1982, the message resurfaced and is now conveyed without corruption. We're going to get into something very much like the 9 here, except it's the 1, right? There's deflation. David Wilcock introduces us to Ra's message of unity and compassion, known as the law of one. So, you might know these two people here. These are the people behind the law of one. I don't know if you'd call this a cult. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what you would call this, but let's get into this a bit. Don Elkins had become interested in the paranormal and in flying saucers in the mid-1950s. In 1962, he called together a group to practice meditation and attempt contact with extraterrestrials, an idea he had gotten from a UFO contactee group in Detroit. The experiment proved successful, and in 1963, he published an initial report, Telepathy Data Collected by Extraterrestrial Communication. In 65, he left the university for a higher-paying job as a pilot with a major airline based out of Atlanta, Georgia. I guess that would be Delta. Among the original members of the group was Carla Ruckert. Following her divorce in 68, they became close friends, and he began to work with her as a channel, and she assisted him in his continuing research. Together in 1970, they founded LL Research to provide structure for their ongoing work. Through the 70s, Elkins developed a new group of channels, the first results of his observations being a volume co-authored with Ruckert, Secrets of the UFOs. Now, this is a very strange detour. Our law of one people, or became the law of one people, made this very strange grindhouse exploitation picture called the Haidan of. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, because the title of the picture was marketed under was Invasion of the Girl Snatchers, a 1973 exploitation film written by Don Elkins and Carla Ruckert, and directed and filmed by Lee Jones, a sci-fi comedy action film. It was released as Invasion of the Girl Snatchers in the mid-80s under the Lurbad Cinema line, and again on VHS in 1999. Wow, that's pretty late to be on VHS. In the film, an investigation into a kidnapping ring leads to humanoid aliens. They are killing their victims and replacing them with alien lookalikes. Film is based on tales of alien abduction. Okay. So very strange picture. I mean, if you go, you can watch the trailer on YouTube, and it's it's rather salacious. It is rather salacious. Okay, typical '70s grindhouse fodder here. All right, and what a dumb name. My God. Anyhow, guess who else Elkins and Ruckert fell in with? Of course, Mr. Puharich from the Council of Nine, okay? And there is Uri Geller when he and Puharich were channeling and contacting the Council of Nine, okay? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right, so apparently the Council of Nine was also mixed up in the law of one. Now, Andrew Puharich, of course, MK Ultra, all right, MK Ultra chemist, was also involved with the Round Table up in Maine, all right. We've talked about this guy plenty of times. A very interesting figure, a man who truly got high on his own supply and actually really, in many ways, similar to David Wilcock, a man who had a career and all the rest of it, and completely destroyed himself, destroyed his career, destroyed his reputation, and ended up dying. Some people believe that he was murdered, was struck from behind. He died in a fall, but he had sought sanctuary from the Reynolds family of RJR Reynolds fame. Okay, so already we see some shady characters involved in the law of one. In 1980, Don Elkins invited a member of the meditation group, a man called James McCarty, to work more closely with Ruckert and himself. As a result, Ruckert experienced an intensive period of channeling with an extraterrestrial who called himself Ra. Ra claimed to have come to Earth many centuries ago, and to have introduced monotheism into Egypt, and to have built the pyramids. The pyramids. Oh my goodness. What is a New Age cult without the pyramids, right? He taught the basic truth that all are one. Oneness, right? Alice Bailey. Not a fan of oneness myself. The material was gathered together and published over the coming years as the Law of One, all right? And there is the book there by Ra, a humble messenger of the Law of One. Now, if this is God, why is he a humble messenger? I mean, come on, people, get your story straight, all right? Good Lord. Good Lord. At the same time as the raw material was being received, Elkins' work was requiring more time. In 1983, he and Ruckert moved to Atlanta to be closer to his job, his working center. But he soon developed severe mental health problems. The couple moved back to Louisville, hoping it would help. It did not. And in 1984, Don Elkins committed suicide. Ruckert and McCartney have continued to operate LL Research and to periodically bring out new material, including a fifth volume of The Law of One. Carl Ruckert died, I believe, in 2018, all right? And actually I used to, did some pretty solid news gathering on that site. I used to follow her news aggregation, again, back in the old blog days, all right, which I missed terribly. But Mr. Elkins, this Law of One situation, again, very similar situation to Mr. Wilcock, okay? Now, the Law of One group continues to exist. You can go to their website, and a new group, much younger group of gentlemen have taken over the operation and are pushing very apocalyptic types of teachings. The harvest is now. The rapture of the day of recompense is here. So very much an apocalyptic cult, okay? See here, who are the angels? The Confederation, Lightbringers, and the Guardians. Ooh, maybe some Watcher action here. Proper function of sexual reproductive practices and the propagation of offspring, yada, yada, yada. I mean, all very typical cult stuff, all very neo-theosophical types of material, all right? Now, another individual that I was thinking about in context with David Wilcock, of course, Zen Master Rama. Does anybody remember this guy? Excuse me. Gonna clear my throat again. Does anybody remember, or any of my old school New Age peeps here, Zen Master Rama, aka Frederick Lenz, 1950 to 1998, also known as Rama or Attamanda, was an American Buddhist teacher, author, and software entrepreneur who taught a controversial form of American Buddhism. Did I ever tell you that I read John McAfee's book on yoga? It's terrible. Zen Master Rama focused on meditation, entrepreneurship, and empowerment, but was regarded by critics as a cult leader who used coercive control over his followers. Shocker! Shocker! Is there seriously a New Age guru who didn't eventually become a coercive controller? I'm not aware of any. Lenz wrote best-selling books, co-founded software companies, and produced meditation music. This is another thing that reminded me of David Wilcock. He drowned in Conscience Bay on April 12th. So April again, all right? 8 days before April 20th, of course. An apparent suicide, stating his death was a protest against how spiritual teachers are treated in America. He had been depressed following eye surgery, but it was the death of his beloved dog Vayu that pushed him over the edge. My heart goes out to him. I can relate. That's not an easy thing to deal with. Now, this is interesting. Reporting suggested his death was part of a suicide pact with a female student who apparently survived her ordeal. Of course, another individual who comes to mind is Marshall Applewhite, who I did a entire live stream on. And of course, Joseph DeMambro and Luc Jouret, all right, of the Solar Temple fame. So it's not at all unusual for gurus and cults and all the rest of it to end very badly, all right, to end very badly. Oh, good Lord. All right, so that is that. Law of One and the unhappy ending of Mr. Don Elkins and Frederick Lenz and all the rest. So let's talk about the strangely dangerous occupation of ufologist. This is from 1970, Mr. Otto Binder, okay? Otto Binder, who wrote the original story, I, Robot, also wrote a number of comic books, okay? A very prolific writer, and we're going to get into his story a bit. Wrote a very, very famous article that became a book called Liquidation of the UFO Investigators. Over the past 10 years, no less than 137 flying saucer researchers, writers, scientists, and witnesses have died, many under the most mysterious circumstances. Were they silenced because they got too close to the truth? Now, some of these are suicides. And ufology does tend to attract some marginal individuals, but a lot aren't, okay? A lot are not. So, a very strange phenomenon that ufology has been a very deadly occupation. This is like deep sea fishers and lumberjacks, even worse in some ways. Otto Binder argued that UFO researchers, writers, scientists, contactees, and witnesses were being systematically liquidated, often through induced heart attacks, cancers, or staged suicides because they got too close to the truth. As we saw before, he claimed to have researched 137 such deaths and suggested possible perpetrators included aliens, men in black, or others trying to suppress UFO information. He highlighted clusters of death as evidence of silencing. These are just a few. Frank Edwards, a famous radio newscaster, died St. John's Day, 1967, of an apparent heart attack at age 59. He had received prior threats to stop investigating UFOs. His death was publicly predicted just before a major UFO convention. Dr. Noel Opon, allegedly kidnapped after a visit by 3 men in blacks, never seen again. George Hunt Williamson disappeared mysteriously in 1965 in Peru. Other prominent names Binder discussed in the context of suspicious early deaths: George Adamski, Barney Hill, Wilbert Smith, Truman Bethram, Mark Probert, Meade Lane, Frank Scully, Willie Lay, H.T. Wilkins, and others. Okay? These are very prominent people in the history of ufology, if you're familiar at all with that. Okay? Adamski, of course, was a famous contactee. Barney Hill died of a brain, some sort of aneurysm or something. I mean, something horrible. So these are well-known people who died very young. Now, Otto Binder had skin in the game here, okay? This is from something he had written in the 70s. I'm far from retired simply because I can't afford it. All the money I made went down the drain when in 1960 I invested as a junior partner in publishing Space World, a magazine about astronomics. So he was involved. I mean, I remember back in the day seeing, he was named as a NASA insider, NASA insider Otto Binder. He was not a NASA insider, but he was involved in journalism about NASA, which probably was a dangerous thing. So that left me without any money reserves and was back to the comics until 67 when my daughter, our only child, was killed by a car at age 14. I was pretty broken up and found it difficult to write again. This is a terrible story. Binder's daughter, Mary, had been on her way to school one morning when a car jumped the curb and went into the driveway in front of the school and killed her. Was she targeted? What does my gut say? My gut says it's very possible. Okay, and I'll tell you why. Because he was involved in Space World. Right? He was involved in dealing with NASA, which, like ufology, is a very dangerous occupation. All right. This is from an issue of UFO Flying Saucers. As of today, 8 astronauts assigned to the program have died. June 6, 1970, Major Edward Givens died in an automobile crash. Astronaut Elliot C. and Major Charles Bassett also died in a plane crash February 28, 1966. Major C.C. Williams car wreck, October 1967. And another plane crash, Captain Theodore Freeman, plane accident, all right, on Halloween of 64. There's been a number, and of course, Apollo 1. Astronauts die in fiery capsule. 3-man crew killed instantly, including Gus Grissom, who was an outspoken critic within NASA, called the Apollo. What did he call it? Was it it was either the rocket or the capsule. He put a lemon on a hanger and said it was a lemon. This man was very, very critical of NASA. What a surprise that he dies in an inferno. These men were all incinerated alive. Apollo 1, all right? We have all these astronauts. You know about the NASA death toll, very, very high death toll. So back to poor Mary Binder here. Is it possible she was killed to send a message to Otto Binder? I mean, I don't know what he was involved in at the time, but Maybe somebody had spoken to him about Apollo or Gemini or whatever. Maybe he was told something he was not supposed to know, and they killed his daughter, which not unheard of, my friends. Not unheard of, okay? Not unheard of, unfortunately. Getting back to the UFO death toll, James Forrestal, Secretary of Defense linked to Majestic 12, allegedly jumped to his death from Bethesda Naval Hospital in 1949. James McDonald, physicist who had tried to persuade Congress to hold hearings on UFOs, purportedly died by suicide in 71. Mae Brussell, legendary talk show host who covered UFOs and the NWO as well as the space program. She was a very early Apollo hoax proponent, died of a fast-acting cancer in 1988. Ron Rummel, former U.S. Air Force intelligence agent, UFO Digest publisher, died of suicide in 1993. Ann Livingston, Mutual UFO Network investigator, died of a fast-acting ovarian cancer in 1994. Phil Schneider, whose name I blanked out on the other day, lectured on DUMBs, deep underground military bases housing aliens, died by strangulation in 96. Friends and family it was ruled a suicide, but friends and family counted it was physically impossible for Schneider to strangle himself because many of the fingers were missing from an explosive accident. All right, it was impossible for him to wrap these tubes around himself as they claim that he did. Carla Turner, author and alien abduction researcher, died fast-acting breast cancer in 1996. Jim Keith, UFO conspiracy researcher, died of a blood clot after attending Burning Man in 1999. Ron Bonds, published books on UFOs and conspiracies, died of a rare form of food poisoning in 2001. John Mack, Harvard University professor and abduction researcher, killed by a drunk driver in London in 2004. Mac Tunney's, UFO blogger, author of Cryptoterrestrials, died in his sleep from a heart attack in 2009 at age 34. Okay, very, very high death toll. I mean, this is just a very small sampling. Now, the thing that really concerns me are these fast-acting cancers that women seem to have died of. A lot of women seem to have died of fast-acting cancers. Yeah. Of course, Max Spears was a British investigator who made claims about UFO cover-ups and secret military programs. This is another guy from the old Project Camelot days. Spears claimed he was subjected to mind control experiments as a child, which gave him superhuman abilities as part of the Super Soldier program. Spears died on July 16, 2016, at the Warsaw, Poland home of Monica Duval, friend. Days before he died, Spears sent a message to his mother stating, "If anything happens to me, investigate." Reports later indicated that Spears had vomited a viscous viscosity, black fluid, black oil right before his death. So he had vomited up black oil before he died. Polish officials claimed Spears died from drug intoxication and pneumonia, citing potentially fatal levels of oxycodone, all right, Percocet, and Xanax equivalent in his system. Police also claim that Spears had been addicted to heroin and cocaine. Supporters continued to claim Spears was murdered by an elite cult of Satanists that he had fallen in with. All right. Now, I had seen a interview with him before his death, and he did seem intoxicated. I will say that, but I mean, who knows? People want to just draw all these lines of demarcation. All right, they don't exist. All right, you're gonna have people, insiders, outsiders, drug addicts. I mean, whatever. It takes all kinds. I mean, it's all comers. Just because you take drugs doesn't mean you haven't fallen in with bad people. And in fact, it increases the likelihood, right? I mean, people who are on drugs, who use illicit drugs, will very often fall in with criminal elements, don't they? All right. So put these kind of arbitrary divisions out of your mind. All right. Particularly in these subcultures, whatever you want to call them, communities. I don't even know what to call them, right? But you're going to have a lot of marginal people. You're going to have people who are mentally ill, people who have been institutionalized, people who are addicted, involved in intelligence and in secret societies and ufology. I mean, anything. I mean, even science and NASA. I'm sure there are plenty of drug addicts working at NASA right now. All right. For real. So, it's that old line. Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean there's not somebody out to get you. Okay. Something big is most definitely coming. Something big is most definitely coming. All right. Is brewing. Something big is brewing. I don't know what it is, but it's big and it's coming. I'm sure you can all feel it. All right. Something is coming at us. And let's look at this. Anna Paulina Luna, okay, very attractive congresswoman who's in has got her finger in a lot of interesting pies, no pun intended. We just learned of the tragic passing of David Wilcock. We are praying for his family and loved ones and the millions of lives he impacted. And she quotes Gospel according to John, chapter 8, verse 32. Very interesting individual to be observing the passing of David Wilcock, okay? Now, this is what she had written the same day. If you are feeling uneasy about the amount of scientists that have gone missing, died, and recent suicides, what is she, I can't figure out, ref those scientists. That's bad writing here. I'm not exactly sure what she's getting at. Anyway, she says, you are correct in your intuition. Something is up. Okay? Something is up. Now, this is a very prominent, fast rising member of Congress. Okay? Multiple U.S. scientists mysteriously vanish. We all know about this. We've all heard these stories. Okay? There are any number of theories, but now this is being investigated by the FBI. All right. Michael Hicks, JPL astronomer, died apparently of natural causes. Frank Maywald, JPL again, sudden death, no autopsy. Anthony Chavez, LANL employee, missing. Monica Reza, aerospace engineer, missing while hiking. Melissa Casillas, again from LANL, missing. Stephen Garcia, KCNSC, property custodian, missing. How are these people all missing? That's a lot of people to be missing. Nuno Loriero, MIT plasma physics professor, killed. Remember, we talked about that, right? Back in Brown University and such, right? Carl J. Grimmare, Caltech astrophysicist, shot, suspect charged. William Neil McCaslin, retired USAF Major General, missing. Jason Thomas, Novartis chemical biologist, dead. Now, there are hundreds of thousands of people involved in the military-industrial complex scientific community. So, is this reason for alarm? That is an excellent question. Some people believe that it is. This is the distribution of the UAP. I hate that term. Let's call it just UFO body count, as we see here. All right. People in the South. It seems to be almost like somebody's traveling down from Washington, Southern California, New Mexico, Colorado, Texas, Louisiana, Tennessee, North Carolina, Maryland, New Jersey, Massachusetts. Kind of interesting, right? It seems like a little path, right? Somebody is traveling. Interesting. I'd like to see fortunately, whoever made this map did not chronologize it, right? Department of Energy investigating missing scientists. The Department of Energy, okay? Stranger Things, okay? National Nuclear Security Administration. God, we have so many alphabet agencies, don't we? Now, this is an interesting story. Top U.S. nuclear chief caught leaking sensitive national security information to a stranger, meaning one of James O'Keefe's honey trap spies. Reveals Army chemist was exposed to U.S. chemical nerve agent. Confirms U.S. strike killed children in Iran. Discloses plans to kill Iran's new oh man, the mouth's getting tired. New supreme leader. Oh, and he's just, your eyes have mesmerized me so much, almost like you're in intelligence. Oh, these poor bastards. Oh, branch chief, nuclear and chemical surety, U.S. Department of the Army. Okay. So, people just, these thirst traps, man. I mean, got to control your libido. If you're in any position of influence or power, and don't go on blind dates. Just don't do it, all right? And if you do, don't let them manipulate you into talking about your job. I mean, don't we know by now? I mean, Project Veritas and O'Keefe's little solo project here, don't we know by now that they're coming for you? And if it isn't one of these people, it's, foreign spies, as we all know about. Representative Eric Burleson thinks China may be behind disappearing and dead scientists. Okay, that this is some sort of... Now that's Red Panda Koala again, who was one of David Wilcock's nemesis. Okay, one of his nemesis, all right? Representative Eric Burleson reveals the Matthew Sullivan was the UFO whistleblower who suspiciously committed suicide prior to testifying to Congress. Last year, we sent a letter to the FBI about a gentleman named Matthew Sullivan. He was scheduled to come in for an interview. Within 2 weeks, he had suspiciously committed suicide. Who the hell wrote this? The report was referred to the Inspector General. They deemed it credible and urgent, then referred it to the FBI. There are things going on, man. I mean, this is... Why are UFOs tied up in all this? I mean, this is... something's going on, all right? We should maybe have a roundtable discussion and sort of bounce ideas back and forth. What is going on? Why, with all these missing scientists and all this UFO disclosure stuff? Oh, read the chilling text UFO-linked scientist sent before being found dead that raised major questions over her suicide ruling. What's her name again? Eskridge. My bad. Didn't write her name down. Died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. In Huntsville, Alabama. Oh, yes. Amy Bishop. Yes. Redstone Arsenal, Marshall Space Center. Okay. Big hub for the military industrial complex. She wrote, I'm scared, I'm tired, I need to disclose soon, man. I need to publish soon because it's like escalating, she said in an interview. And what the hell is her first name? I'm sorry. I need to disclose. I need to publish. It's getting more and more aggressive. This has been going on for like 4 or 5 years. And over the past 12 months, it's been escalating, like more aggressive, more invasive, digging through my underwear drawer and sexual threats. What is going on down in Huntsville, people? I don't know, man. This something crazy going on down there, as you would expect, right? Paperclip and all the rest of it. And oh, by the way, that honey trapped, that poor bastard who got honey trapped out of a job, had said that the United States is still working with banned chemical weapons, which should surprise no one here. Anna Paulina Luna knows a lot about the book of Enoch. Enoch talks about the fall of angels mixing with mankind and introducing technology. Luna confesses to being sworn into office on the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, which still contains the book of Enoch. Here she is on Joe Rogan, okay? And I'm sure he's just a sucker for all this, right? This is a tweet from April 18th when she posted that image of the Virgin Mary and Jesus and John with a UFO hovering in the background. It's really surreal to me. I'm just going to do a bit of editorializing here. It's really surreal to me to see all these UFO tropes that I was reading about ages ago, in some cases in the 70s, being treated like they're some kind of brand new revelation. It's very weird. These are all tropes and images and all the rest of it that anybody who's done any reading into ufology is very familiar with, but it's somehow being unveiled like it's some state secret. J.D. Vance thinks space aliens are demons. Who can blame him? This is from The Guardian. Okay, J.D. Vance had talked about, we hear a lot about this, all right? The aliens and demons. People have speculated about the Collins Elite, which Nick Redfern had written about back in 2010. All right. Ancient Bible story about fallen angels resurfaces as UFO disclosure reaches tipping point. All right. This is from yesterday. One of the leading voices pushing for UFO disclosure has made a shocking connection between an ancient biblical text and the existence of alien life. And of course, this is Anna Paulina Luna. What does that sound? Paloma Blanca, I'm just a bird in the sky. You know what song I'm talking about. Anyway, no, you don't. It's from the 70s. Sorry, lost my train of thought. Luna recently posted 2 cryptic messages on X telling people to read the Book of Enoch, and the other displaying the 15th century painting nicknamed the Madonna of the UFO. Okay. Now, I had done a live stream on the disclosure phenomenon, quote unquote. Recommend everybody watch that. Again, very, you might think, oh, UFOs, disclosure, who cares, so boring. No, listen to me. There's something real going on here, all right? These people are not just playing around. Something is happening, all right? We need to know what it is. We need to know what's coming down the pike at us, my friends, okay? This is not a game. I know this just seems like so tired, particularly to those of us like myself who were reading about this stuff in the 70s, but these people are not playing. There's something going on here, all right? Congressman claims that if Americans saw alien reports he was shown, the country would have come unglued. You'd be up at night. Tennessee Representative Tim Burchett who did not elaborate on the alleged briefings he received, has pushed for the government to share what it knows about UFOs during his time in Congress. All right, this is from earlier this month. This is a rollout, okay? This is a classic intelligence psyop rollout. What is going on? What are they playing at, my friends? Love to hear your thoughts and opinions, all right? Now, these are the people involved in the Disclosure Fund, CIA, Luis Elizondo, Christopher Mellon from the Mellon family. Yeah, this is all the deep state, my friends. You're looking at the deep state here, right in front of you, okay? These are not lightweights, right? These are not people who would be putting their reputations and careers on the line unless somebody was backing them up. All right? Something's going on here. These people do not these aren't amateurs, all right? This has been going on, like I've said before, since the 50s, all right? When you had NICAP, which was run by Navy admirals, okay, and Marine Corps generals. The deep state, as they call it, quote unquote, so-called deep state, has been the primary driver behind the whole UFO phenomenon. All right. But this is ramping up again. Something's coming. Something is coming for us, my friends. This is not a joke. Representative Andy Ogles, I've seen evidence so classified that just knowing it exists make you a target. Talking about, and this is in response to a Daily Mail article about a UFO cluster spotted over a mysterious base tied to missing Air Force scientist. I guess that would be McCaslin. So there's another U.S. representative saying he's seen this disturbing intelligence. What are they referring to? Something is coming for us. This is not a game, all right? I know, personally, my first reaction is to just say, oh, roll my eyes and say, oh, please stop. But something else is happening here. Alien nut Tucker Carlson set to beg Donald Trump to let him get to the bottom of America's UFO mysteries. He's also talked about UFOs as demons. He also seems to be getting ready to convert to Islam, all right, which is also very interesting. Retired CIA officer speaks up about UFOs and non-human intelligence. They are residents, visitors, and strangers. John Ramirez, GS-15, 25-year veteran of the CIA, okay? All these people are connected. All of them. Some at very high levels, like Chris Mellon. So, what do I think is going on? With David Wilcock, again, I'm not going to make any definitive statements, but I've seen no evidence to contradict what people who knew him, like Jay Widener and Cliff High and Jordan Sather, had said that, he was coming unglued. He was a man who was badly in need of intervention, of mental health help, who came unglued. All right. Sometimes people who come unglued are suicided. I just want to put that out there, right? Because they become liabilities, right? They have to be taken care of, or they're given fast-acting cancers or heart attacks or whatever, okay? Again, dispense with these false and artificial lines of demarcation here. I mean, one reality does not preclude the other. But as I said, I do not see any evidence that would dissuade me from believing the testimony of these people who knew him. Okay. And that could change. All right. I mean, information could come out that could change. But like I said, I mean, I forgot the guy even existed. All right. I just totally forgot about him. And I think I'm not alone. I mean, he had a decent following on YouTube, but I don't think he had a following. He's not Joe Rogan or somebody. He's not somebody who they're going to go to the trouble to get rid of. All right. Especially since all the things that he was talking about was basically just rehashing what other people had already said. I don't think he was revealing any inside information or any of the rest of it. So I'm very saddened by it. I am. I didn't know him. I'd never met him. I'll tell the story. I had met the other one, Childress. So I was at this book party in New York in 2009 or 10, and David Hatcher Childress comes up, right? And this is just after the first Ancient Aliens had premiered, and he's kind of a hard guy to miss. So he comes like walking up, like right in back of me, and I was like, "Hey, are you David Hatcher Childress?" And he said, "No." I'm like, "What do you mean no? I just saw you on Ancient Aliens. You did," and I don't know why he denied being, or maybe he thought I was like some sort of psycho or something. A lot of these types can get really paranoid. But he was, he was pretty tight with Wilcock, and I guess really the thing that I feel the most is regret that somebody with that prominence, or one time with that kind of prominence, did not have people around to help him. Nobody should live like that. Nobody should have to suffer like that alone. It's just wrong. I so hate what we've become. And I hate what the internet and social media has done to us, where everybody thinks, that whole main character phenomenon. I mean, you just see that everywhere. And it creates this sense of isolation and an insensitivity. Anyway, now I hope this doesn't sound disrespectful, but this is a dream I had in 2020. I dreamt. During the whole COVID thing, I had extraordinarily vivid, extremely strange dreams. Just to preface this, but I mean, not that I don't have them anyway. But anyhow, I dreamt David Wilcock transitioned into Susan Boyle and lived in a tree. The tree reminded me of the Atlanta Marriott, but also of Planet of the Apes. Cockboyle, as I called it, said the Space Brothers were coming to smash the cabal. I didn't believe it, but climbed onto a branch to watch the sky. Hundreds of people sat on branches waiting for the UFOs. Cockboyle was getting nervous because it was 10 past noon and they hadn't arrived. People began to climb down from their branches. A mass of triangular clouds suddenly morphed into spaceships. They filled the entire sky. Cockboyle was cackling, I told you, and broke into an aria. Then I was in Santa Barbara watching a Wackenhut hit team go after Barry Diller on his rooftop pool. We stood next to a ridge to watch, only it was Dean Norris playing the part of Barry Diller. He looked pale. So the only reason I bring this up is this is my only this is the only thing I could find that where David Wilcock entered my life, and he entered my life through my dreams and transitioned into Susan Boyle of all people. So that's it. I mean, there you go. But one thing I just wanted to mention before we wrap it up here, Elizabeth Seraphine, of course, Seraphine, the Seraphim, right? The burning serpents, right? The angels. Priestess path, Elizabeth, his wife, Elizabeth. She went by the name Elizabeth Wilcock. Elizabeth. Now, David, Elizabeth David. Now, his home was just east of Fraser, Colorado. Elizabeth David Fraser. You know where this is, my friends. You know what this is all about, right? Elizabeth Davidson Fraser, of course, the Sybil. So it never ends, all right? Even in a situation like this, Fraserology reaches into our lives, right? Elizabeth Davidson Fraser. And of course, in light of the disclosure operation, we have Luis Elizondo and David Sex Fravor, right? Elizondo, David Sex Fravor, right? So there you go. It never ends. Even in a situation like this, you got to get a little taste of phraserology, all right? So rest in peace, Mr. Wilcock. I hope you find the peace in life that you did not find in death. I've never bore you any ill will. You never seemed like somebody who was worthy of contempt, unlike Mr. Goode. You seem to be like a person who suffered quite a bit in his life, and I feel great compassion for you. And I hope you find the peace and rest in death that you could not find in life. And hopefully in your next go around in this realm, in your return, the next time you come around these parts, people will treat you better than they treated you before. All right. I'm very, very saddened by this. A lot of young deaths. I remember when Philip Coppens, a lot of people don't even remember him anymore, passed away. He was also part of that OG Ancient Aliens coterie. He died, gosh, 10, 15 years ago now. Long time ago. Very young. Another young, premature ufology death of, which there are hundreds, okay? Hundreds. As the Whistler says, be excellent to each other. Yes, please do. Please treat people with compassion and humor and understanding. More important today than ever before. I can't stand what we've become. I cannot stand it. All right? These isolated little islands. No good. It's no good. We have to change. We have to turn this around. We're not going to survive. We can't go through our lives without connecting with other human beings in deep and profound ways. And again, I very much get the sense that at this point, at the end of his life, David Wilcock was all alone. I don't get the sense that he had anybody in his life and was struggling with terrible, terrible problems. Divorce, bankruptcy, loss of his home, incredible debt, disgrace. And to be honest with you, these people who were picking fights with him and whatnot, I mean, are you happy with yourselves now? Are you proud of yourselves? I'm not saying that they caused his death, but they didn't help. You know, it has to stop. It has to end. We can't live like that anymore. I mean, it's unbearable. Anyway, that's it, my friends. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me. You know, a narcissism very often is a mask for self-hatred, self-loathing. There we have it. Now, if anybody has any questions before we wrap it up. I'll tell you, my feelings were kind of hurt that they didn't invite me to do the superhero episode of Ancient Aliens, but they did have Jerry Jones on it, you know, the convicted pedophile. But what are you going to do? That's another. I mean, there's just something wrong out there in the world. There's too many damaged people. You are welcome, Mr. Christ Jesus Energetics. Why are they obsessed with the Anunnaki? That's an excellent question. Any of them linked to genetic research? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, numb butt syndrome.